How about we punch some tickets to AT&T Stadium? It's the 2021 Texas High School Football Playoff State Semifinal round, and these are the picks. Welcome into the Picks, your guide to the Texas High School football weekend. My name is Ashley Pickle. I'm the video director for Dave Campbell's Texas Football and TexasFootball.com. And guys, welcome to the cruelest round of the Texas High School Football Playoffs. This will be the fifth round of the 2021 Texas High School Football Playoffs. And it really is the cruelest round. Why? Well, because there's 20 different state semifinal games happening over the weekend. 5 on Thursday, 10 on Friday, and 5 on Saturday. For 20 of the teams, they're punching their ticket to AT&T Stadium. At that point, if you win or lose regardless, your name's etched into the history books. For the other 20 teams, well, we start in Lubbock. 6 p.m. on Thursday, Lubbock's Lowry Field. It is a 2A Division II matchup between the Stratford Elks and the Albany Lions. And guys, if you're into hard-hitting, absolute slugfest of a football game, here's your matchup Thursday in Lubbock. Albany being led by longtime coach Denny Faith. They have the weapons. They have versatile players. They have explosive players, specifically Cole Chapman at the quarterback position and then Jaheim Newton on the outside. That has been a duo that cannot miss this entire year. They've also got a lot of versatility too. They can move the ball around and they have explosive capabilities to be able to rack up a score pretty quickly. On the opposite side of that, the Elks, they're going to want to keep this a very low to the ground. They're a hardcore ground and pounded out team, and they do not want to get into a shootout with Albany. Ultimately, I think that Stratford is going to really try to use some size and strength to keep this game close, but I think Coach Denny Faith has the capability to spread the ball out and really kind of switch it up and make it a little bit difficult for that Stratford defense. I think the Lions are going to pull it out and punch their ticket to AT&T Stadium. 7 p.m. Elgin's Wildcat Stadium. It's a 2A Division II state semifinal that we've seen 4 times now. You guessed it, Mart and Falls City coming out of Region 3 and Region 4, and it's a tale as old as time, it seems like, at this point. But Mart is a totally different team than what we've seen in the past few years. Everyone has heard the name. It was the Rod Ralph Freeman show. It was give your guy the ball and watch him do the miraculous tale of running through any defense he ever came in contact with. Mart has turned into really a pass-heavy team. Quarterback Trey Powell in their game last week against Chilton threw for almost 300 yards and 5 touchdowns. This is a team that's really flipped the script in Coach Kevin Hoffman's squad. And so that's something different that Falls City is going to have to keep in mind. The biggest thing that Falls City needs to focus on here is you can't go into this game with the exact same game plan that you've gone in the past 4 years with. Now, those haven't worked out with their favor, so maybe that's a good thing ultimately. But those Falls City DBs are going to have to really lock in on what they need to do, and it's going to come down to the Falls City front 7 on the defensive unit. Can they get into the backfield? Can they get Trey Powell to force to throws that he doesn't want to do? So while it's a matchup we've seen so many times, it feels like it's kind of a different ball game this year. That all being said, Coach Kevin Hoffman has his Mart Panthers grinding, and I'm not going to pick against Mart. Give me the Panthers. Thursday, 7 p.m. at beautiful Kangaroo Stadium in Weatherford, Texas. It is a 2A Division I state semifinal between the Holly Bearcats and the Marlin Bulldogs. And okay, Coach Ruben Torres, we see you. What Coach Torres has done to revitalize this Marlin program has been outstanding. This is a guy that came from El Paso, and people around the town were going, I'm sorry, who is our new head coach? Checks notes. I think an appearance from this in the state semifinal will win you the respect of the town, and he has absolutely deserved it. Now, the name of the game for the Marlin Bulldogs, it's speed. They have some guys that can absolutely turn on the Jets, and they've got a guy in Desmond Woodson who can get them the ball. And he has been the catalyst of this offense and really that key puzzle piece into Marlin's success. Well, you look on the other side of the ball, and defense has been the name of the game for the Bearcats. In their 4 playoff games, they've only allowed 52 points. Now, obviously, they've got a test of speed coming up against Marlin. The key cog for the Holly Bearcats to be able to pull out this win is going to be that defensive front line. If they can get into the backfield and get Woodson in positions that he doesn't want to be in, now he can scramble pretty stinking well, so they're going to have to get actual arms, wrap up, and tackle around him. But if they can do that, that takes out the threat of the speed of the wide receivers and the running game. Don't let them get past you. So while I think Marlin has the advantage in some of their skill players, I think that the Bearcats pull out the win. 7:00 p.m. Thursday at Tomball ISD Stadium. It is a 2A Division I semifinal matchup between the 12-0 Timpson Bears and the 14-0 Shiner Comanches. Now, this is a replay of last year's state semifinal matchup when these two teams met. And how did it go? Well, Shiner blew the pants off Timpson and won by 42 points to then become the eventual state champion. Last week, I was able to see Shiner play Refugio. It's a marquee matchup. It's a matchup that everyone waits for in the state of Texas, and my goodness, Shiner. They beat them 55-14 in a miraculous victory. I will never get sick of watching the absolute perfection that the Brooks brothers are able to produce on a football field. Dalton Brooks is the younger of the brothers. He's a junior this year, and he's grown into his body. He's still much smaller than Doug, but he is very agile and has unbelievable explosive play capabilities. I mean, you hand that kid the ball, and the chances are he's running 60 yards into the end zone for another touchdown. He had 6 of them against Refugio last week. When you add in the 1-2 punch of that agile explosiveness, then you look at older brother, senior Doug Brooks, and he is a unit. You cannot tackle this guy. Well, you look on the other side of the ball, and Timpson, they also have that guy. Their sophomore quarterback, Terry Bussey, has been the guy for them. And we saw them last year as a freshman, and it was, whoo boy, this one's going to be something special. And he has come out and looked every bit as good as we figured that he would. But here's what I have to say. I think with the dynamic duo of both Brooks brothers, it's a little bit too much for Timpson to handle. Give me the Comanches. 7:00 Friday night at Abilene's Anthony Field. It is a 3A Division II matchup between the Lubbock Roosevelt Eagles and the Gunner Tigers. Not what we're used to seeing, right? This will be the first time since 2015 that we have not had Gunner Canadian in the state semifinal matchup. So Lubbock Roosevelt, if you're into weird offenses, this is the game for you. Gunner, of course, runs that weird pistol offense that we've seen year in and year out, and they run it darn well. And then you look on the other side, and yeah, Lubbock Roosevelt, they're the crazy man in the fight. And they run that weird style of the flex bone. The flex bone in and of itself is weird enough. They take the weird to a whole other level, but they have found a way to run it so efficiently that it just really confuses defenses. They don't necessarily have to have those playmakers that can just beat you one-on-one. They have their offense, everyone knows their job, and they're incredibly fundamentally sound, and that's what's really gotten them to this point. On the other side, for Gunner, they're doing what they do. They're a really good team, and they continue to heat up as the playoffs go along. Quarterback Hutt Graham has been absolutely outstanding, and his counterpart in the running game in Ethan Sloan really add for a 1-2 punch that make it incredibly difficult for defenses to stop them from getting in shootouts and really running up the score. So I think this game comes down to what we see early on in the game, because Gunner's defense is only allowing 10 points per game this season. I mean, they have been playing outstanding. So if early on Lubbock Roosevelt is able to kind of run some trickery, kind of get that flexbone offense humming and kind of throw Gunner off, then they're in a position that they haven't really been tested in all year long, of having to possibly play from behind or just having the looming gnat of Lubbock Roosevelt and that weird offense of trying to figure out. I think that pedigree plays out. Give me the Tigers. 7 p.m. Friday at beautiful Mesquite Memorial Stadium. It is a 3A Division II battle between the Wasco Wildcats and the Franklin Lions. Sound familiar? Well, it's because we saw it in this game last year. Flashback, Wasco fell by 1 point. Wasco's on a revenge tour right now, and they've had this game circled year-round. I've got some questions about Franklin. They have been absolutely taking care of business every single week, so much so they're averaging 61.5 points in their playoff games. I mean, they haven't been tested. They played Lorena, who we'll talk about in this video. They played them in week 1 of the season, and other than that, Franklin hasn't been tested. So it might be weird to say that I have questions about them. They've been taking care of business. They've been using their playmakers. They have looked everything of a state championship pedigree team that they were last year. But we haven't seen them get tested like they will against this Wasco team that we'll see on Friday. And Wasco's quarterback, Cole Watson, not to get confused with Wasco Watson, has developed into a little bit of a passer, and that is a huge advantage for Wasco because you run that flex bone, you keep it going. It's going to be a ground-oriented game, but if Cole Watson can come up with a couple of big pass plays, you could get a little bit of an advantage heading towards Wasco. Now, that being said, I think that Franklin is a team that is going to come in fully prepared and ready to prove to people that, yeah, you know what, we kind of blew through this region, but we're ready to blow through anyone we come in contact with. I'm going to take the Lions punching their ticket to AT&T Stadium. 7 o'clock p.m. Thursday at McKinney ISD Stadium. It is a 3A Division I matchup between the Brock Eagles and the Mount Vernon Tigers, both of whom are 14-0. I mean, when we talk about state semifinal matchups, this is exactly what we're hoping for. Both of these teams have been outstanding thus far in the playoffs. Specifically, y'all see what Brock's doing to people? I mean, whoo, buddy. Regional semifinal rounds, they go up against Jim Ned, the reigning 3A Division I state champion, and just drop, cool 70 burger on him. My goodness, Billy Mathis, we see you. Coach Mathis, this is his first year at Brock, and what this team is doing has been absolutely outstanding. And now, when you take a look at Mount Vernon, they have a high-flying offense. They are not scared to put points up on people. But last week against West, they got tested a little bit. West was the first team that we've really seen be able to kind of restrain this Tigers offensive attack, and it's high flying, it's explosive, and they did a really good job of that. Mount Vernon got pushed last week. For them, though, their defense came up huge, a unit of their team that they really haven't had to rely on thus far in the season. That said really good things in my mind about Mount Vernon of, if the offense is going to have a little bit of an off day, well, turn it around and the defense steps up. That's good coaching right there. Now, here's my question. Cutter Wilson, the running back for Brock, went out in the game last week and didn't play for the final 3 quarters of the game. So very interested to see if he will be back. But if not, a lot falls on quarterback Tyler Moody, and he was phenomenal last game. He showed that, hey, if our main guy goes down, don't worry, I'll step up and go, just like the Mount Vernon defense did. I think this is going to be a fun matchup, and I think that both teams have proven that they're a lot more than just one-sided. That being said, Brock is a hot rolling train that I don't want to stand in front of. Go ahead and give me the Eagles to punch their ticket to AT&T Stadium. 7 o'clock Thursday at Georgetown ISD Athletic Complex. It is a 3A Division I state semifinal between the Lorena Leopards and the Lago Vista Vikings. First off, elite mascot matchup. Big fan of that. Taking a look at Lorena, this is a team that has forced everyone to buy in on them this year. No one tell Greg Tepper that I'm giving him credit, but he called this a while back. This is a team that is averaging 50 points in their last 4 playoff games. Running back Rhett Hansen last week ran for 5 touchdowns. He is, you cannot stop this kid. What I really like about Hansen is the fact that not only is he quick and explosive, he is extremely elusive. When you look at the other side of it, Lago is one of those teams that, kind of have been flying under the radar. They finished second in District 13 down there, and I compared them to a gnat. They just don't go away. It's one of those teams that you think, Oh, Lago Vista, okay, we can kind of ride them off. No, you cannot. And I'll tell you what it is. They don't necessarily have the guy. This is a team under head coach Creighton Phillips that capitalizes on every single thing that they're given. A lot of teams will be given something and not be able to turn around and do anything with it. And the way that Lago Vista has been able to stick around and hang in games so long is because if you hand them a present, they will unbox it and they will put it up there shiny on the scoreboard. And so they did it last week against Jamie Dixon's squad in Vanderbilt Industrial, forcing 4 different turnovers, 2 in the air from their defensive backs and 2 down on the line with fumble recoveries. And so there's the whole story of the game. Lorena is a heavy favorite in this game. No one's denying that fact. But when you've got a team like Lago Vista that if you're going to mess up, they're going to capitalize on it, Lorena needs to play a very, very crisp, pristine game. I'm going to go with the Leopards to punch their ticket to AT&T Stadium. 7 o'clock p.m. Friday at Prosper's Children's Health Stadium. It is a 4A Division II matchup between the Gilmer Buckeyes and the Celina Bobcats. When you take a look at Gilmer, they have that guy, Brandon Tennyson, is one of the best quarterbacks to ever come out of Gilmer. And that's saying a lot because Gilmer's kind of a quarterback factory. This kid has been outstanding. He's a kid that we have continued to watch just develop in the way that he plays, and he's a true leader on that offense. But here's the thing. Celina's front is massive. Their defensive line is insanely big. I think this comes down to Celina's defensive line and if they are able to get in the backfield for Brandon Tennyson. Celina has guys all over the field. Gilmer has that guy. So if they're able to basically, as Steph said, cut the head off the snake and really force Brandon Tennyson to make throws that he doesn't want to, I think we lean in favor of the Bobcats there. I think this one is insanely close. I'm going to go with the Bobcats to punch their ticket to AT&T Stadium. Friday, 7 o'clock p.m. at the Palace on Palmer. It's a 4A Division II matchup between Carthage and... Wait a second. It ain't Carthage. China Spring Cougars and the Cuero Gobblers. Let's all be honest with each other here. If you're going to tell me that when the brackets came out, you didn't pencil in Carthage to be in this game, to be in the state championship game, I'm not going to believe you. Now, my biggest question was, okay, you beat the king, you beat Carthage. What does it look like the next week? Well, they look like the team that beat the king. There was no Carthage hangover. They came out there and said, no, that wasn't a fluke. That wasn't our Super Bowl. We have our eyes on the prize, and that's AT&T Stadium, and that's hoisting the trophy in the air after that. Major Bowden, their quarterback, is a guy that we've watched come up the ranks and just continues to play his best ball right now. He hasn't stopped. He had his foot on the pedal from the moment that this China Spring team started the year, and he is not run out of gas yet. Now, on the other side of the ball, how about the Gobblers? The Gobblers are back, baby. Jack Alvarez has done an unbelievable job of getting this program back to where they want to be. Tyson Williams has been fantastic for the Gobblers, but the real key cog on the offensive side of the ball has been their quarterback, Jerry Rossett. In the beginning part of the year, Cuero was really relying on Tyson Williams and that running game pretty much all throughout the year, almost. And then Rossett has been unbelievable in the playoffs. He is a guy that absolutely got his footing underneath him. He is able to throw a complete dime. The connection between him and LeBron Johnson has been outstanding. I think that China Spring has that team of destiny, Phil. I think they didn't want to stop at Carthage. That was not their Super Bowl. They have their eyes on AT&T Stadium, and I think this week the Cougars punch their ticket. 7 o'clock p.m. Friday night at the Star. It is a 4A Division I matchup between the Stephenville Yellow Jackets and the Wichita Falls Hershey Huskies. And let's talk about Coach Antonio Wiley's Huskies squad. Specifically about their game last week. They play Springtown. Well, that's a regional final matchup that we had seen early on in the season, and it's really hard to beat a good team twice. The Porcupines, a very good team, and they had a profound win over Springtown last week. The name of the game for Hershey is speed. They have guys who can move, specifically Amarion Peterson. has been dynamic in all phases of the game. This kid is, just lightning in a bottle in the way that he moves, in the way that he's able to break tackles. He is the reason that rushing attack for the Huskies is so profound. So a lot of times they're able to just outrun people. Now, when you're facing off against Stephenville, well, that becomes a little more difficult. Stephenville's defense has been playing lights out. They have one of the most difficult resumes to navigate through to this point in the playoffs. I'm talking Paris, Melissa, Argyle. They have taken down Midlothian Heritage. The list goes on and on for Coach Dottie's squad and what they've been able to do. And that's where I think that Stephenville is going to kind of take the cake here. It's not the fact that Hershey isn't a great team, but Stephenville has had to defend speed year in and year out, and especially this year. All those teams I just listed that they've beat to get to this point, they've got guys that can move. And so Wichita Falls, Hershey, I think, will give them a good fight, but I think that defense holds out. Give me the Yellow Jackets to punch their ticket to AT&T Stadium. 2:30 p.m. Friday at the Star in Frisco, Texas. It is a 4A Division I matchup between the Austin LBJ Jaguars and the Tyler Chapel Hill Bulldogs. Now, you might be looking at this and saying Tyler Chapel Hill is a little bit of a "you're still here" team. What is really spectacular here is you're working with a freshman quarterback and a freshman running back as their starting guys, the guys that they depend on to bring this offense to what it is and the caliber that they've been playing at. Now, for LBJ, on the other side of that, they're a younger team than what they were last year. You go into the playoffs last year, and we're going, good luck throwing against a couple of D1 bound DBs in the backfield. So they're a little bit younger, but they haven't taken any sort of a step back. Austin LBJ has looked insanely good all year long. Austin LBJ's defense is going to want to go out there, and they're going to want to shake up the freshmen right off the bat and say, hey, bud, we're going to be back here in the backfield a little while, so if you can squeeze over a little bit. On the other side for Chapel Hill, they're going to want to come out and punch them in the mouth right there and say, you're right, we are a young team, but that's not what we're doing here. So I think that the matchups up front, specifically at the lines, that offensive line for Chapel Hill, if they're going to pull off this win, absolutely has to step it up and protect their freshman quarterback and give him opportunity to throw, because his passes are going to need to be crisp and they're going to need to be pristine. All that being said, I think that the Austin LBJ defense is a little bit too much for a freshman quarterback to handle. We'll see, but go ahead and give me the Jaguars to punch their ticket to AT&T Stadium. 7:30 p.m. Friday at Abilene Shotwell Stadium. It is a 5A Division II matchup between the South Oak Cliff Golden Bears and the Lubbock Cooper Pirates. How about that, Sock? First time in the state semifinal since 1970. What Coach Jason Todd is doing with this Golden Bears program and making sure that people know that Sock's out there on the map has been absolutely a blast to watch. And here's the thing. If you're into a physical football game, this is a game for you on a Friday night. Physicality is the name of the game. Sock has some dudes, okay? And here's where Sock really has the best of both worlds. Their offensive line is averaging like 315 pounds. I'm talking of like monstrous size humans. It is a line full of units. So they have the physicality and the size there. You go out to the outside and guys like Keandre Hollywood have speed like you've never seen before. They really have a balance there of protection and unbelievable speed. Lubbock Cooper, Chip Darden is going to have his guys fired up to play in this game. He's an upbeat guy, and he's going to be ready to go. Lubbock Cooper has had a fantastic season, and here's where it comes down to. If Lubbock Cooper wants to win this game, they have got to rely on their defensive front seven to put pressure on the quarterback for Sock, because if they allow Sock to break free on the edge or get any sort of space in open field, it could be church out there. I'm going to go ahead and go the Golden Bears punching their ticket to AT&T Stadium. 7:30 p.m. Bryans Green Stadium. It is a 5A Division II matchup between Crosby and Liberty Hill. Sound familiar? Well, let's go back and check the tape from last year. You know who doesn't want to do that? Liberty Hill fans. Came down to the final play of the game. Crosby pulled it out to make it to AT&T Stadium. So you can only assume that this Panthers squad is going to be out there looking for revenge. Here's the name of the game for Liberty Hill. They run the devil, the slot T. And Coach Kent Walker has his guys at their peak level of running that offense. And here's the thing, that threw Crosby for a loop last year. You could tell that it was something that they had never really seen. It was something that really, really confused them. They ended up pulling out the game, obviously, but what we're really interested to see here is Crosby has a new defensive coordinator this year. Coach Jerry Poth is a South Texas guy. He's incredibly familiar with the slot T. And so I'm very curious to see how much that plays a factor on the offensive side of the ball for Crosby. I mean, they have some speedsters. They really, really have some guys that can go. Keon Miles has been just insane once he is able to break loose out there. And so that's what I feel like it really comes down to. I don't know if the Liberty Hill defense quite has the speed to compete with Crosby because they quite literally can just outrun you, but you're coming with a vengeful Liberty Hill team. And that being said, I think Crosby comes up with a ticket to AT&T Stadium. 7:00 p.m. Friday at Hewitt's Panther Stadium. It is the College Station Cougars taking on the Mansfield Summit Jaguars. Yes, you heard that right. The Cougars playing the Jaguars at Panther Stadium. It is a battle for big cats here. And how about Mansfield Summit? What Channing Hall is doing at Mansfield Summit, I feel like isn't getting enough attention. I mean, this is their second year in the state semifinal. They have been that team that no one really hears about until they start doing this thing where they get incredibly good in the playoffs. And the biggest reason for it is they just got guys all over the field. I mean, quite literally, there are just athletes all over the field, and that's kind of been the name of their game. Can they out-athlete you? College Station, on the other hand, I'm going to be completely honest with you, that's the team to beat in 5A Division I. They have quite literally maybe the most impressive resume to get through Region 2 of 5A Division 1. And this has always kind of been that district of doom in Texas high school football that once the playoff rolls around, everyone's eyes flock to. And they have done just that. They have run that gauntlet to get to this position. And the true workhorse in the backfield has been Marquise Collins. The one thing to say about College Station, though, they were tested against Ryan a little bit, and it really wasn't even Ryan forcing them to be tested. It was College Station making uncharacteristic mistakes last week. I honestly think that ends not very well for Mansfield Summit, because if I know anything about the way that Coach Huff runs that program, uncharacteristic mistakes are not the name of his game. And so they kind of got their clunker out of the way last week against Ryan and were able to win that game. I feel like this week in practice they turned up the intensity to 1,000, and that Coach Huff is going to have his guys making sure that they are not making any of those same mistakes that they made against Ryan. Go ahead and give me the Cougars to punch their ticket to AT&T Stadium. 7:00 p.m. Friday evening at Hero Stadium in the beautiful 210. It is a matchup between the Katy Peyto Panthers and the Corpus Christi Flower Bluff Hornets. And how about that for Flower Bluff? Their first state semifinal appearance in program history, and Coach Steinbrook earlier this week said, man, it is buzzing down there on the coastal bend for this squad. And really, I mean, in every right, it should be. Their quarterback, Nash Villegas, has been outstanding. Really, he was the senior quarterback coming into this year, and I think Coach knew this guy is the guy. He's who we need out there. Maybe not from a physicality standpoint, but from the guy that's going to sit there and get stuff done, have people lined up correctly, and he has looked spectacular so far in the playoffs. But unfortunately, looming on the other side is Katy Peyto. They have dudes over here. Obviously, a newer school in Katy ISD, and they're massive. They're physical. They're deep in every single phase of the game. Their only loss on the season is to Manville in a game that we had all had circled on our calendar and ended up falling short there. But other than that, I mean, they're only allowing 10 points per game. Guys, they've pitched 5 shutouts on the year. They really have just taken people and kind of buried them into the ground. And so this is Flower Bluff's opportunity to go out there and shake some noise. I do think that the sheer size of Katy Peyto will be a little bit too much for those Hornets to be able to match up against. Give me the Panthers to punch their ticket to AT&T Stadium. 7 p.m. on Saturday at McLean Stadium in Waco, Texas. It is a 6A Division II matchup between Tomball and Denton Guyer. Yeah, Tomball's still here, and here they are rolling, looking like one of the hottest teams in the Texas, into the state semifinals to take on a perennial powerhouse, really, in Denton Guyer in the past handful of years that's been here multiple times. Tomball's playing for everything right now. They have the guy. They have Cale Helms. It's been the Cale Helms show week in and week out. And this kid is phenomenal at quarterback. He doesn't throw the ball all that often. He can get it out to the receivers when he needs to, but the legs, the mobility of Cale Helms is what has kept this Tomball team in so many of these games, and they just are. They're the burner on the stove that as the playoff goes on, the hotter and hotter and hotter that burner gets. And on the other side of that, they're facing off against a Rodney Webb-led Denton Guyer team that is no stranger to being this deep in the playoffs. And they're going to try and use that to their advantage. I think quarterback Jackson Arnold has shown that he's a name in Texas high school football that if you're not familiar with, you need to get familiar with now. He has been spectacular this year, and they come in as the favorite. But realistically speaking, everyone who's played against Tomball has come in as the favorite. So it's no skin off their back. I think that Tomball has that team of destiny feel to me. And I know this is going to come as a shocker because I know Denton Guyer's the favorite, and I have complete faith in Rodney Webb too, and Jackson Arnold, but I'm going to roll with Tomball. This is not only a team that is playing its best level of football right now, it's a team that genuinely believes in themselves and want nothing more than to get there. And I think that every now and then that little secret dust of magic plays a little factor in games like this. Give me the Cougars to punch their ticket to AT&T Stadium. 2 p.m. Saturday at McLean Stadium in Waco, Texas. Let's be honest, guys. It is the matchup that we have all had circled on our brackets since we saw that both of these teams could be going D2, and that is the Austin Westlake Shaps taking on Gary Joseph's Katy Tigers. Austin Westlake has been humming on all cylinders all year long. All three phases of this Todd Dodge team look crisp and pristine and like a slate of glass every single week. Now, on the other side of that, oh, look at that. Gary Joseph and his Katy Tigers in another state semifinal. Who would have thought? Coach Joseph is one of the best coaches in Texas high school football, and every single year, even if people doubt Katy, he finds a way to prove them wrong. Maybe make me one of those people that he proves wrong again. But Katy has left me a little worried the past couple weeks. I mean, last week in the regional finals, they really messed around against Summer Creek and almost let this one go. They're trying to figure out a little bit more with their offensive. Of course, they have Seth Davis, who continues to be just a bludgeon when it comes to running the football. But is that enough to be able to score against Westlake? Is the Katy defense, that's the real question, up to the caliber to be able to stop the high-flying Cade Klubnik offense? I've seen Westlake twice this year, and both times I've left saying I would be dumbfounded if anyone in the state of Texas could beat this team. I'm going to go with the Shaps to punch their ticket to AT&T Stadium. 4 p.m. Saturday, McKinney ISD Stadium. It is a 6A Division I matchup between the Southlake Carroll Dragons and the Duncanville Panthers. Southlake Carroll has been operating on all cylinders so far. Riley Dodge has his offense humming just as usual. Caden Anderson stepped up and really didn't skip a beat. I mean, this kid has been unbelievable. Owen Allen is their running back, who is a name that if you don't know, someone start throwing him offers, because this kid is incredibly special and has been for years now for Carroll. Here's the thing that we don't focus on near as often, because when you hear Riley Dodge, you think quarterback, you think offense. When you think Southlake Carroll, you think offense. Their defense has come up in such a big way this year, guys. I mean, every single game, that defense has been shutting people out left and right. Now, on the opposite side of that, with people that they're facing off against in Reggie Sample's Duncanville Panthers, we do think about defense a lot of the time, and that's exactly what the case is with this squad. This Duncanville defense is nasty, man. They've got some dogs on that side of the ball. They're big, they're physical, and they are absolutely ready to punch you in the mouth at all times. But that's what I think the real big difference is in this game. Southlake's got that offense, but they've also got that defense that no one focuses on. Duncanville has that defense. That's probably the best unit out of either of these teams on the field at any one given time. But I don't know if Duncanville has quite that offensive spark to be able to do it. They're going to count on their defense heavily, but when this starts to get into a shootout, if Southlake is still able to score on them, then Duncanville might be running a little bit behind them. Give me the Dragons to advance to the state finals. And finally, 3 o'clock p.m. on Saturday at the Palace on Palmer. It is the winner of Region 3, the Galena Park North Shore Mustangs, taking on the Region 4 winner of the Lake Travis Cavaliers. It's a different-looking North Shore team. Specifically, they've got freshman quarterback back there. Caleb Bailey has stepped up in a big way over the season. And this kid's, 14, 15 years old? And I saw him last week, and he can throw that ball. But he's also a freshman. Here's what this game comes down to. If North Shore's defensive line can absolutely just take advantage of Lake Travis's offensive line, it could be a long night for Lake Travis. Bo Edmondson isn't the most mobile quarterback, but he's got an unbelievable arm. So as long as he has the opportunity to throw the ball, well, you've got wide receivers like Caleb Burton on the outside, and that's exactly what you want to do. So this comes down to Lake Travis's offensive line has got to go out there and play the best game that they've had all year. Lake Travis has weapons. Lake Travis defense has looked good, but their offensive line has to step up to the bill, or else it could end up being a long night. And that being said, I think that North Shore's defense is just too much for the Cavaliers to handle. Give me North Shore to head back to AT&T Stadium. And there they are, the picks, my predictions for all 20 of the UIL Texas High School Football State Semifinal round matchups. Let me know which ones you think I'm wrong at. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. Make sure to follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/Dave Campbell's, Instagram, instagram.com/Dave Campbell's, Twitter @DCTF, and of course, see coverage of all of this weekend's playoffs and our state hub at texasfootball.com. Thanks, and have fun this weekend, guys.